I'm Charles Aaron. I was the music editor at Spin Magazine for a long time and the editorial director at Spin Media for a less long time until 2013, and now I'm a columnist and contributing editor at MTV. And our first panelist is Elizabeth Chan. She's the CEO of Merry Bright Music.
Merry Christmas.
It's a New York-based label focusing on holiday content. Makes her very unique in the business. We also have Molly Newman, who is the head of music at Kickstarter currently, which helps musicians, filmmakers, designers, and other creative artists find resources and support that they need. Music is the category at Kickstarter that has been the most successful. They've done more than 22,000 to date on the platform.
Including one of Elizabeth's albums.
That's how I started my label, through Kickstarter.
Michael Angelo Tombarello is the owner of Modern Shark, which he started in 2010 as a platform to release his own music and to highlight the work of other artists in his community and around the world. He is a recently licensed social worker and is working towards becoming a clinical psychotherapist working with artists.
Awesome.
So please welcome our wonderful group. Both Elizabeth and Mike have videos that we wanted to queue up that they use as a way of presenting their projects and explaining what they're up to.
Check one, check two. Everything's good. I've learned a whole lot, but I don't know ish. It's cool, I'ma roll with it. Hopping out the window, watch me go get it. I've learned a whole lot, but I don't know ish. It's cool, I'ma roll with it. Hopping out the window, watch me go get it. No ride, now I'm stuck in the street. Since I turned 16, been stuck in the beat. After 2 years of that, I was plenty self-righteous. Not alone, I know many felt like this. Watch, you gon' see the fans that I'm gonna go get. Look, the younger kids like, y'all really know yet. Then I'm 22, 4 years past of college. A lot of smart folks really thought I had some knowledge. 25, 3 years of being self-taught. Laughing at the stuff my 22-year-old self thought. Now I'm 28, and the only thing I know is I don't really know shh. That's what I'ma roll with. And it's cool. Really, man, I'm fine. Not saying I ain't going back to school, but the best teacher is time, so I'ma take mine. I've learned a whole lot, but I don't know ish. It's cool, I'ma roll with it. Hopping out the window, watch me go get it. I've learned a whole lot, but I don't know ish. It's cool, I'ma roll with it. Hopping out the window, watch me go get it. Nah, no breaks, now I'm stuck in the spike. And every now and then, see my name up in the lights. And that's cool with me, and so I choose to be. Gorilla coffee for the cup and some food to eat. And not to mention this beautiful girl. And every day she brings something brand new to my world. I got paper for the pan, salt shaker for the bread. And the music sound tight, cause I make it with my friends. Used to see the truth, but I wasn't seeing far. Truth kept changing, I'm through being smart. Not done thinking, man, I'm just thinking about thinking how I'm done thinking that I gotta figure it out. And it's cool. Really, man, I'm fine. Not saying I ain't going back to school, but the best teacher is time, so I'ma take mine. I'ma take mine.
Elizabeth. Hi. I write Christmas music.
There ain't nothing like Christmas in the city. There ain't nowhere I'd rather be.
Our next guest quit her job to pursue her dream of recording a Christmas album, and now she's done it.
Who says you can't spend a year writing over 200 Christmas songs for a new generation? Well, whoever says you can't hasn't met Elizabeth Chan.
Thank you for having me.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
You must be a person who loves Christmas music because you're a recording artist and you're successful, but you only do Christmas music,
I
right?
only write and produce Christmas music.
Fa la la la, fa la la la. Celebrate the holidays for all. Always ride, 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 ride. In the windows of the sleigh, 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 sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all of the way. Whenever I hear a Christmas song, you're always in my heart. You're always in my heart.
And I just want to have the opportunity to be part of that canon of a legacy of Christmas music.
Christmas in the city. There ain't nowhere I'd rather be. Where I'd rather be.
Here we are at the end of an amazing year, a life-changing year, a life-affirming year.
Life-changing is an understatement.
That's what you could do with $10,000 in a dream. Thank you, Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, like, both of you, how much time and much did you spend on putting these things together?
What do you mean, the Kickstarter or my label?
No, I'm just talking about the video.
The video. It was
Yeah.
free. I just did it myself on iMovie.
There you go.
When you run your own business, you got to figure out a way to do your own stuff, right? And if you need something, you got to have. Okay, so I know we're talking about starting a record label and as musicians and artists, but at the end of the day, we're all entrepreneurs. And this is the new record business, is about being your own business owner and really taking control of the things that you need to make your business happen. And I just, that video, honestly, I edited it myself. I had a friend that had an editing suite, let me borrow his editing thing, and I did it, yeah. Thanks.
What about you, Michael?
First of all, iMovie is awesome. It comes on your Mac. So the green screen effect on iMovie is actually better than you think it is, and I dare you to mess with it. That video we made for, I don't know, I think like maybe $100. The director of photography, like at the end of the day, I had to give him something because he was so awesome, but he was brought on by the director. The director did it for free. So this guy, you learn lessons, right? So every project you work on, and I learned a few things on working on that project. And one of the things I learned was when somebody's really passionate about an idea. So like if you're a musician and you meet somebody who wants to make a video for you, and you think that can work, like go with what they want to do, and let them do what they want to do, right? Because like if you try to come to a director and say like, I want you to make me a thing, and I want it to look like this, and I want this to happen, I want this to happen, then you're taking everything out of their control, and if they're not going to get paid for it, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So if somebody has an idea, run with that. That's what we did. Like this guy, John Ta, who directed that, he had this. I thought the idea was crazy. I thought he was a little crazy, like to do this John Lennon, like Mark David Chapman thing. But he was so passionate about it that we were like, whatever, let's give him a chance. And then, it ended up being this like really amazing day. And like some of those shots, like when you walk around like where John Lennon used to live, dressed like John Lennon, and with a woman dressed like Yoko Ono, like people just kind of gravitate to us. So like there's all these scenes where like I'm signing autographs, like all that stuff was just happening, and the camera guy was like, let's get it. We weren't staging that stuff because it was already
extras,
just,
the fans in the
tourists.
background, yeah.
No, they saw us and they were just like gathered. It was crazy,
cool.
like We made a scene. You know?
So I agree. Like I agree that you when you get started, and if you're asking people to work for you for free, that you have to give them the latitude but it's not really free, because you want to make sure that you're paying them in another way, an intrinsic value that isn't like an extrinsic value of money. So when I got started, I definitely pulled favors and like to get started. But now anyone that works with me, I definitely pay, because this is my business as well. And I want to make sure that anyone that works with me feels that I appreciate them and appreciate their time, just as I hope that people who value my music appreciate and value my music. So I have a very different philosophy in terms of like how I run my label. I'm not the richest person in the world, but I also understand that no matter what, at the end of the day, as long as you showed gratitude, whether it's like through money or through time or energy or credits or something, you have to kind of negotiate that constantly in order to get the right support for your business, which is your record label. So I think that was something that I had to learn. I started my label through Kickstarter, but I was so scared to start a Kickstarter because nobody wants to be that person asking for handouts. It actually took me over a year to structure and
Press go.
Yeah, I was working with a producer at the time that I could not afford, and I actually wasn't even trying to start a record label. I was just trying to be a composer like Irving Berlin, because remember, I had already been in the music business. They already told me I sucked, and I never released. I didn't suck, but like there's so many politics. I do not suck. And there's so many at all. And there's so many politics and things that were above my head that I didn't understand as an artist, because in a major label system, you're not supposed to understand it, right? So I had this belief that I didn't have what it took to make it in the music business, and that's not the case. So I thought I could never be an artist again. So when I came back into the music business, hyper-focused on the Christmas song, I thought, okay, great, I could be a composer. And also, people said really messed up things like, oh, you're Asian. Asians don't make it in America in the music business, and all this messed up stuff that I bought into. And I wish that you were around back then so I could talk to you about it. I'm glad you're here now.
Exactly.
Because obviously I still have things about it. But I thought that was doctrine. So when I talked to a producer, Steve Lillywhite, and he produced for U2 and Dave Matthews Band, I cold Facebooked him and asked him if he could help me produce a Christmas song. And he was like, I'm sorry, I have the #1 record in the UK, and I'm awesome, and I'm sure you're great, but I don't have time for this, and thank you for reaching out to me. And a half an hour later, he listened to my demo and said, wow, you're quite good. You can't afford me, but have you ever thought of getting the song to Mariah Carey? And so I started as a composer. I was like, great idea. I'm going to send this out to Mariah. Do you know her? Do you know her, Steve? No. I'm like, okay. So then I started pitching songs to like Kelly Clarkson and everybody. And I had written like 13 songs for Kelly Clarkson. And the A&R was so, like I played the major label system, the only thing that I knew how to do. I tried to place my records on the album. And I was so close until I got an email that said, sorry, these are not hits, but we're going to pass. And I was like crestfallen. And I called Steve and I'm like, you know what, I just don't have what it takes. I'm not a great writer. I'm not a great artist. I got rejected again. I can't go through this again. It's very painful. Should have talked to you about that. But I don't know what to do. And he goes, Elizabeth, please, A&Rs are so full of crap. They don't know what they're talking about. You're going to start a Kickstarter. You're going to be the artist. We're going to put it out together. I'm like, Kickstarter? You want me to ask people to help me do this? Like, not everyone likes Christmas, Most of my friends are Jewish. And so I was very scared to be in that position to ask for help, because that's something that you have to learn how to let go of your pride as an artist. And I was very scared.
And one thing that you're mentioning, I think that the dynamic of asking for support or hoping that, as an artist, as a label, and anyone in creativity, you're hoping that there's going to be appreciation and that at some stage that might turn into some sort of monetary value, or you might sell records or streams or whatever the configuration is now. but because it's the direct, here's my platform and here I'm asking for you to say 10, 25, 35, instead of, oh, it's on iTunes, buy it if you want,
Right.
Which is the same dynamic, truthfully, but the shift of, that specific, request of support and the transparency that you have about who's doing it
Right.
makes it really hard, and that's a big barrier for a lot of the conversations that I have with potential music creators. But I think it's actually the most powerful thing when you flip it and you're like, not only do I know the name of the guy who orders everything directly from my website, and I can count on him almost, and that you have that, you really do feel that energy so much more from your community, and I think it's an important thing, and to have that as your foundation is pretty huge, because now you have international distribution through, the same system that supports the major record companies, but on your terms.
Right, and it also validated that there was a market, and like people really
Right.
wanted to hear this art that I
Proof of concept, you guys.
proof of concept that I so badly wanted to share. So even though, I had been told by an A&R person that they weren't hits,
Right.
it didn't matter at that point because people were willing to put their money into my ability to share his music. And that's how I started my first demo EP. And from there, it charted on iTunes. And from there, just one thing led to another. And that's how I started my label. I never actually wanted to start my own label. Maybe I knew too much. Maybe I was afraid of rejection and all the work that it would take. But it was the only vehicle and the only way that I could actually get my music out there.
Well, I think there should be no misunderstanding that it's a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of responsibilities. And in my career, having owned my own label and been a partner at a large label, that, I think the model of that you both are showing of, being the artist that is running your own company and keeping it in scale and keeping it focused is an important thing to consider, because once you're really trying to do volume and sign a lot of artists and you see potential perhaps in one and you really believe in that there's a market to support them, you can get ahead of yourself. And that's something that's very challenging to recover from, especially now when, like we've discussed, the revenue streams are much more difficult. So that's really something to, think of yourself as a business person. You have to be looking at your profit and loss statements and your, running budgets and are the budgets matching the revenue and what are you promising your artists? So I think it's a really emotional relationship when you run a record company that signs other artists. Your belief in them is by how much you're willing to spend, according to them. And so that can really challenge a lot of, as someone who does believe in an artist, and you say, well, if I, and this is a mistake that I made, let's believe, let's throw it at, everything that we can without those checks and balances. And that is something that's almost impossible to recover from sometimes.
Right, and that's, just to jump in, like, that's
Please.
part of the value of, the concept of crowdfunding, because, as a label, you can decide to not take a financial risk on an artist that you're unsure about. Like, and you can work with them to create a Kickstarter, or, we're not going to mention other crowdfunding platform names.
They exist, it's okay.
They exist. But if you feel weird about using those platforms, like, you just look at, like the artists who have used those platforms, and you can rest assured that it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
One of the releases from my label is this group called Bipolar Bear, and they have this record called When Ledge Is Home, and I loved it. They actually reached out to me, like, out of the blue to feature on a song, and when I went to their studio to record the track, they started playing me stuff from the record, and I was like, oh my God, like, I love this, And a few months later, they had the record finished, and I ended up putting it out. But they used Kickstarter to raise the funds for the project. And what's so cool about Kickstarter, and this, I think the first time I heard about, pay whatever you want was like with the Radiohead project in 2007 maybe.
Yeah.
And because before this, there was you were setting a ceiling, like you can only support me by buying a T-shirt, the album, and the concert ticket. Now it's like, you should have a button on your website that just lets people donate money if they want to. Like I've had people email me like, how can I help? And they're like, would it help to get this record out if I just gave you some money? And I'm like, yes, it would help me. And then it made me realize like there should be no stream of money that I am putting up any kind of barrier to receiving. So with the Kickstarter thing, like we had one guy, just he gave us it was $1,000 donation from a fan in Saudi Arabia who like is never going to see a show probably, and he's like, but this music, their previous record meant a lot to him, and that connection that their art had with this person allowed him to to throw this money out, and that was a huge donation. I mean, that helped us to make the video for that project, so.
And one story you reminded me of is, last year, or a year and a half ago when Run the Jewels album came out,
yes.
They released it for free. Mm-hmm. Much to the panic of their label and distributor, but then the people, whoever downloaded it, accessed it, and then they still sold over 100,000 records, and which is very difficult to do. And obviously it's an exceptional record, and they have a strong team behind them in lots of different ways. But there are different. One of the bigger projects for us in the past year was De La Soul funding. They had spent 2 or 3 years just jamming, and they had this tons of music, but they didn't have an album yet focused, and so they set up a project. They didn't want to start into a label. They have had lots of challenges with their catalog, and they put up a project with the goal of $110,000, and they ended up raising over $600,000. Mm-hmm. And what they were able to do with that, and to the point that I think we've both made about, so sort of they had then this leverage to go in and say, I want a distribution deal that is, I'm not going to take anything more than this. And because they had the fans that had supported, over 11,000 fans that had supported it at different levels, so they knew.
From me.
Awesome. So they knew that there were people that, and it comes out this month, so you should be getting it soon.
I liked Meow the Jewels.
Right. But just really quickly, it was just a really strong testament to the power that hopefully artists and independent labels can harness now and get those favorable terms, right, and have the right structure to their careers, so that the way that they want them.
I took a year before I started my crowdfunding campaign, and I made a list of like 200 people that I thought I could reach out to and say, hey, would you support me in this endeavor? And I would have told you with complete honesty that I thought that all 200 people would give me $10, no big deal. I was in for quite a surprise that, actually the people that funded me were people I didn't even know that were on Kickstarter that just love Christmas music. And those are really the people that are going to support you, the ones that really get what you're about. And so when I funded the Kickstarter campaign and I put out my first record, I really also had to start from the bottom again on how to make this a sustainable record label, right, and business. Right. So then I had to say goodbye to my Kickstarter friends, yeah, and really think holistically and be like a startup, right? And just think like a startup and think about how I wanted to, make my business plan. And I had no experience in running a record label, so I just had to kind of figure it out as I go, and it was a lot of favors at first. But then one thing, when you ask for too many favors, people think that you owe them something, and I didn't want to have that tenor in a business. So I had to find out how I could fund, like the next record without going back to Kickstarter, even though I could have. I just felt like, how many times am I going to go and ask for Kickstarter? Well, I love Kickstarter, but there's kind of a fatigue. There's a fatigue when you ask for favors over and over again, and I didn't want to run that course. I wanted to stay friends and I wanted to make my Christmases as friendly and family friendly as possible and not awkward. So I had to figure out a way to pivot and kind of create a new business from it. And it sucked. For like 2 years, I was broke. Anything that I made, it went back into the business. It went back into recording. It went back into making music videos. It went back into every frequent flyer mile I had in my life, every coupon I could find, I put it back into my business because I could only rely on myself, you know? And any savings I had, like I had saved up my entire life to buy a small studio apartment, all that money, the down payment, back into the business. I put it all in my business. But when you have that kind of accountability and you have no plan B, and this is your only plan, you make it work. And then as much energy and passion that you put into it, eventually it'll feed back to you. And so now this is my 5th record. And Mary Bright has been around for almost 4 years. And I mean, I really thought it wasn't going to happen, but I now can tell you it can happen, but it's going to suck a lot. And it's going to be a lot of spaghetti. Get a lot of dollar pizza until your doctor says, no more dollar pizza. But I mean, like, that's what it took, and I don't regret a day because now I know my business inside out. When I hire people, they can't BS me. I know exactly how the business works. It's like your child. You know exactly what your child likes. You know exactly what they're allergic to. You know exactly what makes them happy, right?
What's your business allergic to?
My business is allergic to non-Christmas music. I don't know how many times someone has asked me to do something non-Christmas related, and I have turned down so many deals because people still don't get it. They still don't get that I didn't go into this to be Beyonce. I didn't go into it to do anything but to leave behind a great Christmas song and to figure it out, right? So that's what my business is allergic to.
That's awesome.
Stuff. But I mean, holiday stuff is okay. I love Hanukkah. Like, I love that.
I was gonna
I'm not
ask
allergic
about
to Hanukkah at all.
yeah.
Actually, my first Billboard hit was a half Hanukkah song. Yeah, the second verse is all about Hanukkah. Because I grew up in New York. I'm part Jewish. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking, like, you guys have gotten to a certain level, and these folks are starting from scratch. And I would just, if they're starting now, if you could put yourself in 2016, what do you think are the nuts and bolts and the things you should be focusing on, the skills that you need, and the steps, like 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, to make sure you're getting off to the good start?
I would say, evaluate your community and really sort of have a sense of who is, interested in what you're doing, what your models for other, people that you admire or other companies that are doing what you really appreciate, and see where you can. I mean, it's sort of a shortcut, but I'm all about that. Finding ways to not reinvent the wheel and really try to learn from those before us, as you always would, and then communicate with that support system, because whether you do it directly or you do it through a label, you're going to need to. You want people to be interested in what you're doing, and you want to have that respect, and that's that's a real thing. I come from the independent label world primarily, so we're all about our supporting one another and having some sort of value system around what we're doing, and that has always been something that's guided me.
I would say, as an artist, even though I am a record label CEO on my business card, there are like 3 H's, I guess. I just thought of it right now. One is to be honest with yourself. Do I like what I'm making? Is this art that if nobody listens to it, nobody listens to this Christmas song, will I listen to it every day for the rest of my life? Will I like it? Will I be happy with it if nobody else listens to it? Be honest with yourself. Am I having fun doing this? Do I really still want to be an artist? Is this something I want to do? As long as you constantly check that and have an honest conversation with yourself, everything else will fall into place. The second thing is to have a ton of humility. Like, you are going to start from nothing, and people are going to tell you that you're nothing, and you're just going to have to smile at them and accept what they're saying, even though you want to stab them in the face, because the music business is so small that you have to know that and art is so subjective. I'm sure there are people in this room that really hate my Christmas music, but because art is subjective, right? So you just have to have a lot of humility, and you also have to be very humble, right? So if somebody helps you, like, the worst thing you could do is not thank them, not show gratitude. And I think if you have that, I can't say to you, this is how you start a business and you're gonna go gangbusters and you're gonna make $1 million, because that's everyone's business model, whether you're making music or widgets or newspapers or chairs or like flooring, it's all gonna be different. And it's all about how you wanna set your tone in terms of your company's culture or your ideals or your philosophies. I don't have those answers, but I do know that my success was led by constantly being honest, constantly being humble, constantly having humility when approaching others about wanting to, distribute and create my art.
Good answers.
Yeah.
Coming also, from whether from the artist or the label side, I'd say really, if you're talking about music, at the end of the day, it's the best cliche thing to say. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, it's all about the actual music, and so if you're an artist, you got to work on your craft, because if you don't, there's other people will do it, and then those ideas that you had will get expressed to somebody else, and then you'll be pissed off about that. Because like Nas said, there's no idea is original, and from a label standpoint, it's the same thing. It's like the people that you work with need to be honing their craft, need to be digging into themselves and pulling out art that is unique and individual, and at the end of the day, that is what is going to survive and connect with other people,
Totally.
Okay, I think I'm getting the sign that we can get some questions going, and I think you guys probably have a lot.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. It's really nice to hear you guys speak. And I'm just kind of curious. Oh, by the way, my name is Ishan, and I go to NYU, so that's why I'm here. And I'm just kind of curious as, when do you know to fully commit? Because it seems like it's very difficult to know, I don't know if I'm going to be successful in this endeavor. Should I maybe go to my backup plan? Maybe should I just go to business school and be some guy in some business doing some random thing, or should I be going to actually follow my passion? When do you guys know actually? And maybe when in your story,
I love being back at
when
NYU.
did you find out?
I love being here because I know exactly how to answer that question. I do. I absolutely do. How do you know when to commit? When you've tried everything else and you are still not happy, and you always go. My plan B, which was to graduate from NYU with my journalism degree. I failed out of music, so I'm going to go have a real job. That was my plan B, my backup plan. When you're so into your backup plan and still not getting what you want, I had a corner office. I was in the New York Times. I had everything that you could possibly want, and I was not happy because at the end of the day, I felt like I was wasting my time and my energy for people that I had no passion about. And I would clock in at 9 and I would leave at 6 and I would pray for my vacation time. Do you know what I mean? And that's no way to live. And so when you have those back and forths, and if you want to go to B school, maybe that is the right thing. But there's a day that just it clicks and you just know.
Hi, my name is Cecily. I'm not a student here. I am newly in the music industry, quit my job a little bit ago.
Yay.
To you, do what you want. I quit my job, best decision of my life. The universe will reward your risk. So I manage a musician. I've also been approached by a couple other people to manage them. It's something that I kind of fell into just because I believed in my friend so much and what he's doing, and he has this incredible vision, but I don't know how to be a manager. What I am doing right now is I'm incredibly supportive. I will represent him in, I'll be the go-between between booking agents and venues and things like that. But what are some things that would have been helpful to you or have been helpful to you or that you've done for artists, like some basic principles that I could, help these people that are approaching me to manage them or the artists that I'm managing?
Find out what other people are doing. What are the artists that your artists are similar to? What are their teams like? What are they, where are they successful? And, that's just, there's a lot of homework to do in every aspect of this business. And, you really need to become a scientist almost of music and how things are working.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, who does he sound like? And what websites and what magazines and what media outlets feature artists that have a similar sound? So then you know where to go to in terms of getting press and getting attention, because there's a lot out there.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brendan. I'm actually an independent artist. Thank you guys very much for coming out. I have a question about more like the logistical side of things. Just because I work with other artists, and I was curious more so about how you get in touch with like pressing or distribution or marketing. Was that all done just cold calling?
Yep.
Is it limited to just that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
There are no shortcuts
Yeah.
in making and building relationships, and this entire business is built on relationships. I literally cashed in every frequent flyer mile, went to every conference, ASCAP Expo, Muse Expo. I was just out there, right, Molly?
Yeah.
Right, Molly? I'm
you
still
are,
out there.
yeah. You're going
I
everywhere.
I shake everybody's hand. I try to find out who does what. I tell them my goals. I find out what theirs are. There are no shortcuts.
You're also really nice.
Oh.
And that goes a long way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Oh, thanks, Molly.
No, it's true. Everybody knows that, but you don't think about it, you really have to,
Yeah.
One more quick
Sure.
one.
Yeah,
One more.
absolutely.
Real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Abe. So my issues is that there's two sides to the music industry that's dying. From my point of view, and maybe may disagree, may agree, is that because this idea of being independent is so instilled into a lot of people's mind, the artist is so narcissistic that they think that the internet's going to make them famous, right? And then not only is the internet going to make me famous, the internet has saturated the culture and music, especially in hip hop, and that's my background, right? So my goal coming in here today is trying to figure out how to start my own record label. So there's two sides that's dying. The A&R side of the record labels is diminishing. There's no more artist development, and it's dying day by day. And then journalism's dying in music. I would say that there's not a lot of platforms because print is dying.
What are we doing here? Let's just go home.
Sorry.
You're right.
It is. My thing is, what are some of the things that, if I'm starting my own record label, to do as far as the A&R side, and what do I look forward to in the A&R?
Well, you got to take that mentality that it's dying and take it out of your head and throw it away, because that is going to sink you. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Do you know how many people told me that I would never be able to succeed with a Christmas label because it's so niche, no one would buy into it, it doesn't fit into major label systems, no journalist will cover it in the fourth quarter when everyone's releasing their albums for Christmas that aren't Christmas records? That mentality is not going to do you any service at all.
It's not saying my mentality, it's just the circumstances of the current
I'm just
landscape.
flipping the...
I've just stopped thinking about it in
Yeah.
these terms, like the record industry is dying. What
Right.
good does that do anyone? Like, it's reorienting, it's shifting, it's rearranging itself, it's rebuilding itself. And
you need money, right? I mean, that's what you
Correct.
need.
Jay-Z came in the game 100 grand strong.
But she came with 0 and raised 10. And that's how you have to think about what's the minimum and look at ways that you can access those funds. If you have a partner that, possibly might, that exists at the label that is looking to fund, or you can, harness your community and through 10, 50, $100 here and there, you can, cobble together your first project, and then you have an estimate of what the revenue potential is for those projects. So if you're an artist or you're managing an artist and you think, okay, well, if I know it takes a lot of money to, get things from Spotify streams or whatever the streaming channels are. Maybe it's through licensing a track to a
TV
film
show.
or a television
Right.
show. You know, you have to think, you know, to my point earlier, it's like really run those budgets. Really figure out what you need revenue-wise to make your profit and loss, and hopefully less loss,
Right.
work.
Yeah,
And also
don't
that's-
even.
I mean, you're not just in the music business anymore. You are an entrepreneur, and the planet that Jay-Z was born on is gone. Like this is a new world order, and you know, I spend my time here trying to encourage everyone to take everything that you think you know about the music business and just throw it out, because there are no rules. You know, that's
I say
But good
don't-
luck to you.
Don't bother trying to make any money off of streams, because Adele's not making money off of streams, so it's not gonna do anything for us. But people still pay you to license your music for TV commercials and films. Like that's a real thing. You know, we had a licensing deal for one of our catalog songs last year for a Razor commercial, and it was quite a bit of money compared to what we get for record sales. So, you know, that's
And make
that's
sure
some
you're
place to
registered
look.
through Sound Exchange if you're not, because
Yeah.
that's real money through Pandora
It is
and
real money.
Sirius and things like that.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.